In the heart of a bustling interstellar port, where ships from countless worlds docked and departed in an endless dance of commerce and curiosity, a young engineer named Kale found himself caught in the whirlwind of galactic intrigue. Known for his exceptional skill in repairing quantum drives, he had earned a modest reputation among spacefarers who valued their time more than their credits. His workshop, nestled between a neon-lit cantina and a purveyor of exotic spices, hummed with the constant vibration of tools and the soft whir of diagnostic equipment. Kale's life followed a predictable pattern of repairing starships by day and tinkering with experimental gadgets by night. The walls of his workshop were adorned with peculiar artifacts collected from various planets. Crystalline formations that pulsed with inner light, metallic orbs that floated lazily in mid-air, and curious devices whose functions remained a mystery even to him. Each piece told a story of encounters with beings from distant stars, yet none had prepared him for what destiny had in store. The interstellar port itself was a marvel of cosmic diversity, where gravity fields were carefully calibrated to accommodate visitors from worlds with varying environmental conditions. Transparent domes arched above certain sections, allowing glimpses of the crimson sun that bathed the station in perpetual twilight. The air carried a mixture of scents, ozone from ion engines, the sweet tang of alien blossoms, and the faint metallic trace of advanced technology operating at full capacity. Among the regulars who frequented Kale's workshop were beings of every imaginable form. Insectoid merchants clicking their mandibles and haggling conversations, gelatinous traders flowing through specially designed corridors, and bipedal species whose features defied terrestrial classification. Yet despite this daily exposure to extraterrestrial wonders, Kale maintained a healthy skepticism about the more fantastical tales shared by space travelers over lubricant-slicked workbenches. His most prized possession was a small, palm-sized device he called the Universal Translator 2.0, a prototype he'd been refining for years. Unlike commercial models that relied on pre-programmed language databases, Kale's invention adapted to new languages organically, learning and evolving with each use. It had become indispensable in his work, allowing him to communicate complex technical instructions across species barriers. Little did he know that this device would soon play a crucial role in an encounter that would rewrite not only his own story but potentially the fate of entire civilizations. The day began like any other, with Kale buried deep in the maintenance hatch of a particularly stubborn freighter's engine core. The ship belonged to a group of Trilidian traders, their crystalline bodies refracting the workshop's artificial light into dazzling rainbows across the walls. As he worked, his Universal Translator 2.0 buzzed softly against his wrist, struggling to process their complex harmonic communications. Suddenly, the entire station shuddered violently, sending tools clattering to the floor and causing several of the floating metallic orbs to collide with a musical chime. What in the name of quantum flux was that? Kale muttered, extracting himself from the maintenance hatch just as emergency alarms began wailing throughout the port. Through the viewport, he witnessed something extraordinary. A massive vessel materializing in the docking bay, its arrival bending light around it like heat waves rising from desert sand. The craft wasn't landing. It was appearing atom by atom, a feat of engineering that defied all known physics. Before Kale could gather his thoughts, the main doors of his workshop hissed open, revealing a being unlike anything he'd ever encountered. She stood nearly 8 feet tall, her skin shimmering with an iridescent quality that seemed to contain galaxies within its depths. Her eyes, larger than human hands, glowed with an internal luminescence that pulsed in time with some unseen rhythm. Most striking was her presence, an aura of authority so powerful it felt like physical pressure against his chest. "Your assistance is required," she stated simply, her voice resonating directly in Kale's mind rather than through his ears. The Universal Translator 2.0 vibrated intensely against his wrist, overwhelmed by the complexity of her speech patterns. Without waiting for a response, she extended a graceful hand toward him, and Kale found himself moving forward almost involuntarily. As they moved through the corridors of the spaceport, Kale noticed how other beings instinctively cleared a path, bowing their heads in deference. The air seemed charged with electricity, and the ambient lighting dimmed slightly in her presence, as if acknowledging her superiority. They reached her vessel, which now stood fully materialized in the center of the docking bay. Its surface flowed like liquid mercury, reflecting everything around it while simultaneously seeming to absorb light. Inside, the ship defied conventional understanding of interior spaces. Walls curved and shifted, creating chambers that appeared larger on the inside than they should have been. Strange symbols pulsed along the surfaces, responding to their passage with gentle waves of color. The Queen, for Kale now understood that's who she must be, led him to a central chamber where a holographic display hovered in the air, showing complex mathematical equations and what appeared to be coordinates scattered across multiple galaxies. "It seems your translator device has malfunctioned," she observed, her voice carrying both amusement and concern. "I require your expertise to repair it." Kale nodded, trying to focus on the task despite the overwhelming nature of his surroundings. As he examined the device, he realized the problem wasn't with his invention but with the ship's own systems, which were interfering with its operation. He needed to interface directly with the ship's core processor to resolve the conflict. The Queen guided him deeper into the vessel, to a chamber that pulsed with raw energy. Here, the air crackled with power, and Kale felt tiny hairs standing up on his arms. In the center of the room floated a crystalline structure, pulsing with colors that seemed to shift according to emotions rather than any discernible pattern. This, he realized, was the ship's brain, an organic computer system far beyond anything humanity had conceived. As Kale connected his diagnostic tools to the crystal, he became aware of a strange phenomenon. The Universal Translator 2.0, still attached to his wrist, began to adapt not just to the Queen's language but to the very thought patterns of the ship itself. Words and images flooded his mind. Concepts of loyalty, duty, and an ancient tradition he couldn't fully comprehend. The device interpreted these as a proposal protocol, triggering a series of events that would irreversibly alter his position in the cosmos. With trembling hands, Kale adjusted the final setting on the Universal Translator 2.0, unaware that he was initiating a formal proposal according to the ancient customs of the alien Queen's people. The crystalline structure in the ship's core pulsed brighter, responding to his actions with a symphony of light that filled the chamber. The Queen, who had been observing with regal detachment, suddenly stiffened, her luminous eyes widening in recognition of what was unfolding. "Finally," she whispered, her voice resonating through the chamber like 1,000 harp strings played in perfect harmony. The word carried layers of meaning that transcended simple translation. Centuries of waiting, generations of expectation, and a profound sense of destiny fulfilled all wrapped into a single syllable. Kale froze, his fingers hovering above the translator as he processed what had just happened. The chamber's atmosphere transformed instantly. The pulsing lights synchronized into a gentle rhythm, matching the Queen's breathing. Tiny motes of light began swirling around them, forming intricate patterns that seemed to tell stories of ancient ceremonies and royal lineages. The Queen stepped closer, her movements graceful yet deliberate, each step creating ripples in the chamber's energy field. Kale felt waves of emotion washing over him. Anticipation, relief, and something deeper, older than time itself. I didn't mean to," Kale stammered, finally realizing the gravity of his mistake. But before he could continue, the Queen raised a slender hand, silencing him with a gesture that commanded both respect and understanding. Her expression softened, though it retained its regal bearing. Around them, the ship systems began adapting to their interaction, creating a bridge between their two species' consciousness through the translator. The Universal Translator 2.0, now fully integrated with the ship's core, projected holographic displays of ceremonial protocols, ancient vows, and binding contracts that had lain dormant for millennia. Kale watched in awe as symbols from dozens of alien cultures merged with human concepts of commitment and partnership. The device had done more than translate. It had created a universal language of devotion and alliance. "This moment has been foretold," the Queen said, her voice now carrying tones of wonder and inevitability. "Your device has awakened something we believed lost to time." She gestured to the swirling patterns of light, which now formed constellations that mapped both their species' histories. "You carry within you the resonance of our destined union." Kale's mind raced as he tried to process the implications. The translator had somehow tapped into a cosmic design he couldn't comprehend, weaving together threads of fate from across the galaxy. The Queen's presence filled the chamber with an energy that was both exhilarating and terrifying. Ancient mechanisms within the ship activated, sealing the chamber and initiating protocols that would bind them together in ways neither could yet understand. "You must understand," the Queen continued, her words carrying the weight of countless generations. "This is not merely a personal matter. Your accidental proposal has triggered a cascade of events that will affect entire civilizations." She paused, allowing Kale to feel the full magnitude of what had transpired. "Our union represents more than just two individuals coming together. It signifies the joining of two evolutionary paths, the merging of technologies and philosophies that could reshape the very fabric of interstellar relations. As the Queen spoke, Kale became aware of subtle changes occurring both within himself and the environment around them. The Universal Translator 2.0 had evolved beyond its original function, now serving as a conduit between their consciousnesses. He could sense the vast network of knowledge and responsibility that came with accepting the proposal. Diplomatic treaties spanning hundreds of worlds, technological advancements that could either uplift or destroy civilizations, and the delicate balance of power across galaxies. The Queen's gaze intensified, drawing Kale deeper into the reality of his situation. My people have waited for this moment since before your species walked upright. Prophecy speaks of a union that would bridge the gap between our kind, one that would bring unprecedented peace and prosperity to the stars. Your device, primitive yet profoundly innovative, has proven you worthy of this destiny. She extended her hand again, and this time Kale saw the truth in her words reflected in the very air around them, shifting patterns of light that revealed ancient texts and forgotten alliances. But why me? Kale managed to ask, his voice barely audible over the hum of converging energies. I'm just a mechanic from a backwater spaceport. The Queen smiled, and it was like watching a supernova bloom in slow motion. Precisely because you are not bound by the constraints of nobility or predetermined purpose. Your ingenuity, your willingness to create bridges between different technologies, these qualities embody the spirit of unity we've sought for eons. The chamber's atmosphere grew heavier with significance as Kale grasped the true scope of what was being asked of him. Beyond the personal commitment lay the responsibility of representing an entire species in a cosmic alliance. Every decision he would make henceforth would carry the weight of two civilizations' futures. The Queen's patience and understanding helped ground him, even as the enormity of the situation threatened to overwhelm his mortal comprehension. For hours that felt like mere moments, Kale grappled with the magnitude of his accidental proposal. The Queen's presence never wavered, her support manifesting as a steady current of encouragement that flowed through their connection. Together, they explored the implications of their union, diplomatic ramifications that spanned hundreds of light years, technological exchanges that could revolutionize both their societies, and cultural shifts that would ripple through generations to come. The Universal Translator 2.0, now functioning as more than just a linguistic tool, began mapping out potential pathways for integration between their species. Through its lens, Kale witnessed visions of peaceful coexistence and unprecedented advancement. Yet alongside these hopeful projections danced shadows of potential conflicts and misunderstandings that could arise from such a monumental union. The Queen, sensing his growing understanding, shared memories of similar alliances throughout galactic history, some triumphant, others tragic. Their bond deepened as they navigated these possibilities together. Kale discovered that the Queen's wisdom ran far deeper than her regal bearing suggested. Beneath her composed exterior lay a wellspring of compassion and genuine desire for mutual growth. She revealed how her people had long studied Earth's history, finding both inspiration and cautionary tales in humanity's journey. Their civilization, though advanced, faced challenges that mirrored Earth's struggles with equality, resource distribution, and ethical progress. Through their developing connection, Kale experienced brief glimpses of the Queen's world. Cities that floated among the stars, education systems that nurtured individual potential while maintaining collective harmony, and artistic expressions that transcended traditional sensory experiences. These visions alternated with scenes from Earth's diverse cultures, highlighting humanity's capacity for innovation and adaptation. The translator facilitated this exchange, ensuring that each perspective was understood in its proper context while illuminating common ground between their species. As they continued their dialogue, Kale realized that acceptance of the proposal meant embracing not just a partner but an entire civilization's hopes and dreams. The Queen explained how their union would serve as a catalyst for change across multiple star systems, influencing everything from trade agreements to scientific collaborations. Yet she also emphasized that this was not a surrender of individuality but rather an opportunity to enrich both cultures through shared experiences and mutual growth. The Queen's touch, when she finally placed her hand on Kale's shoulder, conveyed centuries of tradition and expectation. Through their connection, Kale sensed the weight of generations past who had anticipated this moment. Scholars who had preserved ancient prophecies, engineers who had built their civilization's magnificent vessels, and leaders who had maintained peace while awaiting this union. Each pulse of energy from the ship's core seemed to echo with their hopes and sacrifices. "I see now why my device chose this moment," Kale admitted, his voice steadier than before. It wasn't just translating languages, it was bridging lifetimes of preparation and possibility. The Queen nodded, her luminous eyes reflecting both pride and the burden of their shared responsibility. Around them, the chamber's atmosphere responded to their growing understanding, the swirling lights forming patterns that represented the convergence of their destinies. Together, they began examining the practical implications of their union. The Queen explained how their combined resources could address pressing issues facing both their peoples: environmental challenges that threatened habitable worlds, technological dilemmas that had stumped their brightest minds, and social inequalities that persisted despite centuries of effort. Through the translator's enhanced capabilities, they visualized potential solutions that drew upon the strengths of both civilizations. Yet even as they forged ahead with these plans, Kale couldn't ignore the whispers of doubt that occasionally surfaced. Was he truly ready to bear the weight of such responsibility? Could a simple mechanic from a spaceport really help guide two species toward a brighter future? The Queen, sensing his concerns, shared stories of other unlikely leaders who had risen to meet extraordinary challenges throughout galactic history. Each tale reinforced the idea that greatness often emerges from unexpected places. Their preparations continued, with the Universal Translator 2.0 evolving further to facilitate their planning. It began incorporating elements from both their cultures, creating hybrid systems for communication, governance, and technological development. The device's ability to learn and adapt proved invaluable as they drafted frameworks for cooperation that respected both species' unique characteristics while forging new paths forward. As they delved deeper into the details of their impending union, Kale and the Queen encountered unexpected challenges that tested their resolve and understanding. Traditionalists among the Queen's court viewed the union with suspicion, questioning whether a human could truly comprehend the complexities of their society. Meanwhile, Earth's governing bodies struggled to grasp the implications of one of their citizens entering into such a significant alliance without prior authorization. These external pressures forced Kale and the Queen to navigate a delicate political landscape. They spent countless hours addressing concerns from both sides, their connection strengthening with each challenge overcome. The Universal Translator 2.0 proved instrumental in these negotiations, not only facilitating communication but also helping identify common ground between seemingly incompatible viewpoints. Their preparations took an unexpected turn when they discovered that their union would require them to travel extensively across both territories. Ancient protocols demanded that they visit key locations sacred to both species, performing ceremonies that would solidify their bond in the eyes of their respective peoples. For Kale, this meant leaving behind everything familiar, while the Queen faced the prospect of introducing her people to aspects of human culture that might seem primitive or unsettling. The journey ahead promised to be both rewarding and demanding. They would need to establish new protocols for cultural exchange, develop systems for resolving inevitable conflicts, and create frameworks for technological cooperation that respected both civilizations' values. The Queen's advisors presented them with volumes of documentation detailing previous attempts at interspecies alliances, many of which had ended in failure due to cultural misunderstandings or technological mismatches. Despite these challenges, their determination never wavered. The Queen revealed that her people had been secretly preparing for this moment for generations, developing adaptable technologies and flexible social structures that could accommodate human participation. Kale, in turn, shared insights about humanity's capacity for rapid adaptation and innovation, demonstrating how Earth's diverse cultures could contribute to their shared future. Their preparations entered a critical phase as they began selecting representatives from both species to form an advisory council. This process proved more complex than anticipated, as they had to balance traditional power structures with the need for fresh perspectives. The Universal Translator 2.0 evolved further to assist in this task, analyzing personality profiles and cultural backgrounds to suggest optimal combinations for effective collaboration. As the days turned into weeks, Kale and the Queen found themselves facing increasingly sophisticated obstacles. Security concerns emerged regarding the protection of sensitive information during their travels. Both species possessed technologies and knowledge that could prove dangerous if misused, requiring the development of unprecedented safeguarding measures. The Queen's security detail worked closely with Earth's top defense experts to create protocols that would protect their union while maintaining transparency. Cultural misunderstandings continued to surface, sometimes in unexpected ways. Simple gestures of affection or respect held vastly different meanings between their species, leading to moments of unintentional offense or confusion. Through these experiences, they learn to approach every interaction with heightened awareness and sensitivity, using the Universal Translator 2.0 not just for language but for interpreting emotional cues and social contexts. Their preparations reached a pivotal moment when they had to address the integration of their respective legal systems. The Queen's realm operated under a complex framework of telepathic contracts and psychic imprints, while Earth systems relied on written documentation and digital records. Bridging this gap required innovative solutions that respected both approaches while creating a unified system that could withstand scrutiny from both civilizations. Throughout these challenges, their bond continued to deepen. Kale discovered that the Queen's apparent perfection masked vulnerabilities and doubts similar to his own. Late-night discussions revealed her fears about leading her people through such unprecedented change and her hopes for a future where their children could grow up in a truly unified society. These intimate moments strengthened their commitment to seeing their union through, regardless of the obstacles ahead. The Queen's advisors introduced them to historical accounts of failed interspecies unions, providing valuable lessons about what pitfalls to avoid. Some stories spoke of civilizations that had rushed into alliances without proper preparation, while others detailed partnerships that had collapsed under the weight of unrealistic expectations. These narratives helped shape their approach, emphasizing the importance of patience, flexibility, and mutual respect in navigating their unique situation. As they worked through these preparations, Kale and the Queen began to understand that their union represented more than just a personal commitment or even a political alliance. They were pioneering a new model of interspecies cooperation that could serve as a template for future relationships across the galaxy. This realization added another layer of responsibility to their already heavy burden, but it also provided renewed motivation to succeed where others had faltered. Their preparations took an unexpected turn when they discovered ancient ruins on a remote moon that seemed to hold secrets about previous attempts at interspecies alliances. The Universal Translator 2.0 detected residual energy patterns in the ruins that matched both human and the Queen species' neurological signatures, suggesting that their union might be part of a much older cycle than anyone had previously understood. This revelation prompted them to expand their preparations to include archaeological research and historical analysis, adding another dimension to their already complex undertaking. The discovery of these ruins led to an influx of scholars and researchers from both species, each bringing their own theories and interpretations about the significance of their findings. Some believed the ruins represented a warning, while others saw them as evidence of destiny fulfilled. Navigating these conflicting viewpoints became another challenge in their preparations, forcing Kale and the Queen to develop sophisticated methods for evaluating evidence and making decisions based on incomplete information. Meanwhile, their relationship continued to evolve in unexpected ways. Shared experiences of deciphering ancient texts and exploring forgotten technologies brought them closer together, creating bonds that transcended their initial circumstances. They found themselves finishing each other's thoughts, anticipating needs and concerns before they were expressed, and developing a shorthand of communication that went beyond what the Universal Translator 2.0 could facilitate. As they approached the next phase of their preparations, Kale and the Queen faced increasing pressure from various factions within both their species. Political groups vied for influence over the direction of their union, while religious organizations debated its spiritual implications. Scientific communities argued about the potential impact on evolutionary trajectories, and economic interests maneuvered to position themselves advantageously in the emerging order. Their preparations reached a critical juncture when they had to address the question of offspring and genetic compatibility. The Universal Translator 2.0, now functioning as a sophisticated biological analysis tool, revealed surprising potential for hybridization between their species. This discovery sparked intense debate about the future of their bloodlines and the implications for both civilizations' genetic heritage. Ethical considerations mounted as they contemplated the responsibilities of creating a new generation that would bridge their species in unprecedented ways. Amidst these mounting pressures, Kale and the Queen found solace in their shared vision of a better future. They began documenting their experiences and insights, creating a foundation of knowledge that could guide others who might follow in their footsteps. Their preparations expanded to include educational initiatives, cultural exchange programs, and joint research projects that would lay the groundwork for sustainable cooperation between their peoples. The complexity of their preparations continued to grow as they incorporated feedback from various stakeholders. Environmental scientists raised concerns about ecological impacts, sociologists highlighted potential cultural clashes, and philosophers debated the metaphysical implications of their union. Each new perspective added layers to their understanding, forcing them to refine their approach and consider factors they had initially overlooked. As they worked through these multifaceted preparations, Kale and the Queen developed increasingly sophisticated strategies for managing the expectations of their respective peoples. They established communication channels that allowed for direct dialogue between citizens of both species, fostering understanding and addressing concerns before they could escalate into conflicts. The Universal Translator 2.0 evolved to facilitate these exchanges, becoming a vital tool for maintaining transparency and trust throughout their preparations. Their preparations entered a new phase when they had to address the logistics of implementing their union across multiple star systems. Transportation networks needed to be reimagined, communication infrastructure had to be upgraded, and security protocols required complete overhaul. The scale of these necessary changes became apparent as they worked through detailed implementation plans, each decision carrying implications that rippled through both civilizations. The Queen's advisors introduced them to complex simulations that modeled various scenarios for their union's implementation. These virtual environments allowed them to test different approaches and anticipate potential challenges before committing to any particular course of action. Through these simulations, they gained valuable insights into how their decisions might affect everything from daily life to long-term societal development across both species' territories. As they refined their preparations, Kale and the Queen discovered that their union was inspiring similar movements toward cooperation elsewhere in the galaxy. Other species, observing their efforts, began reaching out to explore possibilities for broader alliances. This unexpected development added another layer of complexity to their preparations, as they had to consider how their union might influence galactic politics and relationships beyond their immediate sphere of influence. Their preparations reached another critical milestone when they had to address the question of representation in newly forming intergovernmental bodies. The Universal Translator 2.0 helped them develop innovative approaches to ensuring fair and equitable participation from both species, balancing traditional power structures with emerging democratic principles. This process revealed fundamental differences in how their species conceptualized governance and authority, requiring creative solutions that honored both perspectives. Throughout these intensive preparations, Kale and the Queen maintained their connection through daily rituals that blended elements from both their cultures. These shared moments provided stability amid the chaos of their undertaking, grounding them in their commitment to each other and their shared vision. The Universal Translator 2.0 documented these interactions, building a database of successful cross-cultural practices that could inform future diplomatic efforts. As they neared the final stages of their preparations, Kale and the Queen faced their greatest challenge yet: integrating their differing approaches to conflict resolution and crisis management. Their species had evolved radically different strategies for dealing with adversity, and finding common ground required them to fundamentally rethink long-held beliefs about leadership and decision-making. This process proved both painful and enlightening, forcing them to confront deeply ingrained assumptions about how societies should function and evolve. Their preparations took an unexpected turn when they discovered that their union had triggered responses from forces beyond their immediate understanding. Anomalous energy readings began appearing in regions of space previously thought to be empty, suggesting that their actions were resonating on a cosmic scale. The Universal Translator 2.0 detected patterns in these phenomena that hinted at a larger framework of universal laws governing interspecies relationships, adding another dimension to their already complex undertaking. As Kale and the Queen continued their preparations, they found themselves drawn into increasingly intricate discussions about the philosophical underpinnings of their union. Scholars from both species began proposing theories about the fundamental nature of interspecies relationships, challenging long-held beliefs about identity, consciousness, and the boundaries between civilizations. These debates forced them to reconsider basic assumptions about what it meant to be part of a species, a society, or a greater cosmic whole. The Queen revealed ancient texts from her people's archives that spoke of cycles of unity and separation across the galaxy, suggesting that their union might be part of a much larger pattern of cosmic evolution. These revelations prompted them to expand their preparations to include metaphysical considerations, exploring how their union might influence not just their immediate species but the broader tapestry of life throughout the universe. Their preparations reached a new level of complexity when they had to address the implications of their union on the fundamental laws of physics and biology. Scientists from both species reported anomalies in natural processes that seemed to correlate with their growing connection. The Universal Translator 2.0 detected patterns in these changes that suggested their union was affecting basic constants of the universe, raising questions about the relationship between consciousness and physical reality. As they worked through these profound implications, Kale and the Queen found themselves at the center of a growing movement that sought to redefine the very concept of civilization. Their union had become a catalyst for change across multiple dimensions of existence, challenging beings throughout the galaxy to reconsider their place in the cosmic order. The preparations they had begun as a simple accident had evolved into a project of unprecedented scope and significance. Their preparations entered uncharted territory when they discovered that their union was affecting not just their species but the fabric of reality itself. Time seemed to flow differently around them, and space appeared to bend in response to their combined presence. The Universal Translator 2.0 struggled to process these phenomena, generating theories that bordered on the mystical while remaining grounded in observable data. As they grappled with these cosmic implications, Kale and the Queen found themselves facing choices that would determine not just their future but the trajectory of evolution across the galaxy. Their preparations had transformed from practical arrangements into philosophical explorations of existence itself, forcing them to consider questions about free will, destiny, and the nature of consciousness. The boundaries between science, spirituality, and politics blurred as they worked to integrate these profound revelations into their plans. Their preparations reached a critical point when they had to decide how much of their discoveries to share with their respective peoples. The weight of this decision pressed heavily upon them, as they balanced the need for transparency with the potential consequences of revealing truths that might be too profound for mass understanding. The Universal Translator 2.0 provided insights into how different segments of their populations might react, but ultimately the choice rested with them alone. As they stood on the threshold of a new era, Kale and the Queen recognized that their preparations were far from complete. Each answer they found generated new questions. Each solution created additional challenges. Yet through it all, their connection remained steadfast, a beacon of hope in a universe that seemed increasingly complex and interconnected. The accidental proposal that had started their journey now appeared to be the first step in a much larger cosmic dance, one that would require all their courage, wisdom, and love to navigate successfully.